Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of They're Not Mine. I can't tell you, I'm so excited to be here and share this podcast series, which is about life with kids through the eyes of an auntie. Like all good stories, this starts at the absurd Kleenex-required intersection of death and life. It was 11 a.m. on the 19th of April, 2004, and I was at my first Jewish funeral. My close friend Jennifer's mum had died, and I felt helpless as I watched my friend grieve. Throughout the years of our friendship, Jennifer had taught me about a lot of Jewish traditions, and now I was experiencing one. As I watched the coffin being lowered into the ground, I noticed mourners one by one picking up a shovel and moving dirt onto the coffin. And I can remember thinking how inclusive and personal that moment felt. But at the same time, I became a little panicky, thinking, oh God, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to join in? I'm not immediate family. I shouldn't join in. Maybe I should if I pick up the shovel and I move too much dirt or not enough dirt. I was becoming really overwhelmed, and I wanted to ensure I was doing the right thing at a very important moment for my friend. So I just stood there and I watched my friend say goodbye to her mum. So here I was witnessing the very harsh and real fragility of life, while a little further north, at the exact same time, a new life came into our family. It was the first grandchild, born eyes wide open, my first niece, Annie Grace, was born. Okay, so hang on a second. I need to rewind and go back about 9 months. When my sister fell pregnant, it was a good old-fashioned surprise for all of us. And I remember when she called me to tell me, I could hear the excitement and the trepidation in her voice. I remember her asking me, will I be there for her? And without any hesitation, I said, absolutely, of course I'm going to be there for you. I have to say, just as a quick side note, I would do anything for my family. I mean, if they asked me to bubble wrap myself and roll across the harbour bridge, I'd do it without any explanation. Well, maybe that's not quite true. I'd want some understanding as to why. But you get my drift. I would do anything for my family. So here was my sister asking me, would I be there for her? And of course, absolutely, I was going to be there. And I remember a little later during her pregnancy, she said to me, I'm going to need you to teach her things that I won't think of. And I can remember thinking, wow, I'm going to actually get to teach her. I'm going to have a role here. Oh, okay, yeah, I can feel the responsibility of that. I mean, I'll think that obviously it's a little bit soon now, but I'll teach her about managing finances and how to deal with those underwhelming first dates. All a little bit soon now, but I'll be ready when she is. So now back to the current story. I hugged my friend Jennifer goodbye, and with mixed emotions, I headed off in pursuit to meet my new niece. A sibling circle up was called. Now, you need to understand us marchers. When we rally, we move quickly. And so a carpool meeting spot was nominated faster than opening a fresh tin of Milo. Still dressed in my navy suit, with my sister Bindi and my brother Guy, we jumped in the car and, excited like 5-year-olds on Christmas Day, we headed north for the hospital. Okay, so I need to just take a freeze here for a moment because I don't want you to imagine Bindi and Guy like actual 5-year-olds. So let me give you some facts as to who's actually in the car. Driving is Bindi. She's child number 3. She's a highly successful sales professional who has never drunk a cup of coffee in her life, which I think is unbelievable for anyone to have to attend all those sales meetings. She's gregarious, she's smart, and she also wants to have a family of her own. My brother Guy, he's sitting in the front passenger seat, and he's child number 4, also a sales professional. He has the most wicked, irreverent sense of humour. And when he's not around, he's really missed. He's married to Tanya. Yep, there's 2 of us in the family. So if you're any good at maths, that makes 4 of us. Number 1, number 2, the one who just heroically delivered the first grandchild. Number 3, social butterfly, doesn't need coffee. And number 4, the beloved and very humorous only boy. Blonde, redhead, blonde, redhead. And you can kind of imagine our excitement as we're heading north to see our niece. We were wondering what hair color would she actually hold, and we would pick her up and hold her to the light like Simba to the pride to see, is she a blonde or is she a redhead? And we were thinking this with absolutely no regard to Trina's partner, Brett, who has absolutely jet black hair. Anyway, the other thing I want to say is there's no keeping our family at bay. I mean, look, I appreciate when a couple have their first child or second or third, and they want to have those first couple of days to themselves with their new baby. That doesn't cut it with our family, not the Marchers. We're going to be there with bells on. So we were determined to meet Annie Grace the day that she arrived. So off to Gosford Hospital we drove, 90 minutes north of Sydney. Now, I have to share with you, Gosford Hospital is pretty iconic for us. It was our local accident and emergency room during the 70s. You know, Mum and Dad, with amongst the four of us kids, did many trips there with memories of illness, memories of broken bones, memories of sprains, memories of an allergic reaction to mushroom salad. I must have been 10 years of age and I was starting to swell. Mum bundled me into the car and I can remember sitting on the back seat looking at Mum's eyes in the revision mirror and I was feeling scared and I said to her, "Am I going to die?" To which she replied, "Don't be silly, you have school tomorrow." But most significantly, of all the memories of the hospital, was the driving around trying to find a car spot. As we drove into the hospital car park, all those memories came flooding back. Please don't let it take forever to find a spot. But of course, the car park of the hospital had improved dramatically. And sure enough, we found one. Bingo. We were there and we piled out of the car. Without my sister and I even talking to each other, we started to pick up the pace as we walked towards the opening of the hospital. It was like we suddenly had this skill set of Olympic race walkers racing for that stadium with first prize to be the first one to see our niece. And we were moving quickly. And my brother, who was trailing a little further back, yelled out, "You two have got to be kidding me. The baby isn't going anywhere." To which we replied, of course, yeah, we know. But we kept motoring towards the hospital. And I have to admit, I was moments from dropping my shoulder so I could beat my sister to the hospital room. And trailing back, well in third place, was my brother. And he yelled again, "You two are seriously pathetic." But then we were there. And we opened the door. And life as we knew it, as our family knew it, had now changed. There was a new person in our family. Christmas was no longer going to be about adults casually unwrapping gifts in the morning. I remember looking around the room and seeing my sister on the bed and her partner Brett in an armchair, sitting beside her, holding this new life, who I hadn't yet met, but I knew I was going to absolutely love. I looked around further and I saw my mum sitting in the chair, proud as punch to be a grandmother. Bindi took the first cuddle and I smiled because I knew this was what she wanted to. And I waited patiently. Well, I thought I was, but I was actually like thumper toe tapping, waiting for my turn. And then eventually my turn came. And I remember holding her and feeling the weight and the warmth in my arms and that gorgeous face and a chunk of gunk in her hair because she had not been washed. Man, she was brand new. I laid her on the hospital bed and I started to unswaddle her. And I marveled at this tiny human form, but dressed in a hospital gown, you know, the kind with the ties behind the back. And I can remember thinking, she's such a small little human being for such a grown-up style piece of clothing. And she was just gorgeous, beautiful face, lovely long legs, and oh my, slightly larger than normal feet. And I smiled because I thought, kid, you're going to have a good grip on life. So now it was my brother's turn to nurse Annie. Now, I have to say, I find there's something really endearing about seeing a man hold a baby. for a man who can do handiwork, and yet when past a newborn baby, fumbles and there's this awkwardness, like it's a parcel that lacks the instructions this way up. But now it was my brother's turn. Now, a bit of a side note about my brother. He has an incredibly weak stomach. I mean, he will heave at the word custard. His eyes will water, he'll go pale in the face, and he'll even dry reach. So here we are handing him this new baby who has not been washed. She's got gunk in her hair, and we're watching in anticipation. As he picked her up, eager to say hello, his eyes began to water. Was it love? No. If I close my eyes, I can still hear him gag in the corridor. Our lives had changed forever. And as we bundled back into the car, I started to think about the day that was mixed with sorrow and the arrival of this new life. And then I remembered, I'm going to get to teach her things. Now, I went to June Daly Watkins School of Deportment and Grooming, so there were the principles of etiquette that were definitely going to make the list of things that I was going to teach her. How to set a table, how to fold a napkin, the importance of finding a good hairdresser, and when to remove nail polish, because cheap girls have chipped nails, am I right? I also wanted to teach her how to network, maybe, how to perhaps close a deal, and how to be brave, like Braveheart brave. And I got to remember, going by the size of those feet, even though she was a newborn, there's a likelihood she's going to be one of the taller kids in the class, just like her Aunty Tan. So I'm going to teach her the patience when it comes to those days of school classroom photos, and she's positioned back and center, baby. Yes, I was really tall. Like tall at 12 years of age. I also had hairy legs, which my mum would not let me shave at that age, but that's a whole other story. I was almost 5'9", and yeah, great, that's fabulous when you're goalkeeper on the netball court, or if you need to reach those chocolate biscuits that mum's hidden away on the top shelf. But personally, I absolutely hated it. I used to stand with one hip out when I was with my friends at school, trying to lower my height. It felt like all my friends at school were shorter than me in my year. The boys were definitely shorter than me. And even at times it felt like, some of the teachers were shorter than me. It was distressing. And with the support of my parents, we sought medical advice. I was put on medication to stop me from growing. And I guess like all medical intervention, there are risks. And there were consequences that we could not have predicted at the time. But that's another story, and that's for another time. For now, we're celebrating the first grandchild in our family, my first niece. And while she's not mine, now I'm Aunty Tan. Yikes, I'm going to have to learn how to swaddle. All right, stay tuned. More to come with episode 2.